People don't usually announce which side they're on. They reveal it in tone, in hesitation, in how quickly they shut the conversation down or lean forward when it starts. Astrology has a way of doing that. It doesn't just spark curiosity. It exposes fault lines. One side looks at astrology and sees danger immediately, not because of the stars themselves, but because of what happens next. Because once people begin searching the sky for meaning, something else tends to fade into the background. Prayer becomes optional. Surrender becomes negotiable. Trust gets replaced by explanation. And in that view, astrology isn't harmless symbolism. It's a quiet rerouting of devotion. From this perspective, guidance is not meant to be decoded. It's meant to be received. God speaks directly, intentionally, personally. Anything that claims to map destiny, even subtly, feels like interference, not rebellion in the loud sense, but substitution. And substitution has always been where belief erodes first. Stay with that thought for a moment, because it doesn't come from fear. It comes from protection. Now the other side enters the room, not defensively, but curiously. And instead of asking, "What does astrology tell you to do?" it asks something else. What does it actually do? This side doesn't experience astrology as authority. It experiences it as language, a symbolic framework that describes patterns people already feel but never knew how to articulate. Timing, temperament, cycles of tension and ease that seem to repeat whether anyone believes in them or not. In this view, astrology doesn't replace God. It examines what God made, and examination is not worship. The sky, after all, is already woven into human life. Time bends around it. Calendars obey it. History has always watched it. The question isn't whether the heavens matter. They clearly do. The question is whether observing them crosses a line or simply acknowledges design. Here's where the tension sharpens. Because the Bible itself never calls the stars evil. It warns against bowing to them. That distinction lingers like an unresolved note. One side hears that and says, "Exactly. That's the risk." Because humans don't stay neutral for long. Curiosity turns into dependence. Reflection turns into identity. And before anyone notices, meaning no longer flows downward from faith, but outward from charts and interpretations. The other side hears the same warning and pauses, because misuse doesn't automatically mean corruption. Fire can warm or destroy. Language can heal or manipulate. Knowledge can humble or inflate. The danger isn't in the thing. It's in the relationship people form with it. There's an uncomfortable honesty both sides avoid admitting. Astrology speaks quickly. Religion often asks people to wait. In moments of confusion, speed feels merciful. Silence feels cruel. That difference alone explains why astrology grows when certainty disappears. Not because it's superior, but because it responds. Some argue astrology removes accountability. Others say it forces confrontation with personal patterns that are easier to ignore when everything is framed as mystery. Seeing tendencies written out can feel invasive, not comforting, which raises a quiet question no one asks out loud. If astrology were meaningless, why would it provoke such strong reactions? Here's a thought worth sitting with. Religion emphasizes trust. Astrology emphasizes awareness. One asks for faith without full understanding. The other offers understanding without claiming faith. They pull in different directions, but maybe they were never meant to compete for control in the first place. If you've listened this far, you already know this isn't a simple argument. It's a tension that mirrors something deeper: the human need to believe and the human need to understand. If this conversation made you pause instead of immediately choosing a side, leave a comment with the question it stirred, not the answer. And if you want more reflections like this, where ideas are explored instead of preached, subscribe and stay with the channel. So here's where we stop. Not with a conclusion, but with a question that refuses to settle. If the stars were never meant to rule us, and faith was never meant to silence curiosity, then which side is actually closer to the truth? And why does the answer feel less certain the longer you think about it?